Next section of the programme focuses on building services and the growing role of technology in delivering safe, efficient, comfortable and cost-effective work environments. One of the early advocates of the intelligent building, which I think now are smart or clever or connected or something, he's responsible for the solutions and technical teams within smart buildings at Equans, Solutions Development Director, Mark Davenport.
So basically, smart buildings, you've heard it said many times by many different people, and it means many different things. So what I'm going to do is take you on the journey of what a smart buildings is and how we got there with one particular client and the reason why. There's been a few things said today which has resonated with me in you guys should be involved right at the very beginning. I can't remember who said it this morning, but you should. You're the guys that's going to look after that building at the end, but you get no say along the way. You end up being given a building, and then you try to build all these platforms that we've seen this morning onto the back of something that's being done by others. So there's loads of challenges along the way to actually do and get to where you guys are, and you are at the end. You're given it after we've all finished. So the project we're going to talk about is 12 King Street, a project in Leeds, and it was quite unique in many different ways. How we approached it, why we approached it, and how we actually got in with the client and managed that. It became the largest cross-functional wireless infrastructure in Europe, probably the world. Bold statement, I know, and I'll explain to you why as we go through. So one of the things that we did do, and we did persuade them, is to disrupt the built environment, change things, make it better, enable the building for smart, not just now but in the future and for all the tenants that they would let in there afterwards. So if we start taking you through the questions to ask the reasons why, then you should get more of an idea of the challenges that we face along the way. So the starting point. So you want a smart building, what does that mean? As I explained earlier, it means many different things to many different people, and you want them for different reasons as well. So who is it who wants a smart building? So this is where the driver really starts. So it depends on what they want to do with the building. So is it the developer? Is it the guy that's going to build it, put it together and make it work? And when he does, what does he want to do with it thereafter? Is it the investor? Well, in the world we've got today, the investor is now more cautious, and we've just spoke about it. Most of the pension type companies in investing in real estate, they're basically holding back now, and if they are going to invest, there's got to be a bigger and a different reason for them guys. Is it the occupier? We speak about well-being, wellness, all them types of things. The occupiers driving the wellness and the well-being of the buildings to get people back to work again. So again, all wanting for different reasons. So why do you want a smart building? Well, do you want to capitalise an investment? Do you want to actually build a building and sell it? Do you want to let it? Do you want to sell it? We're back to where the money is from a pensions point of view as well. Is it for rental income? If we're going to be for rental income, why do we need to make it smart? It's got to be better than what everybody else has got out there. Otherwise, you're not going to let that real estate. Do you want to attract and retain talent? Well, in the generation of today, that's exactly what we want to do. We want to get people back into work and we want to retain them, so the working environment's got to be different, it's got to be clever. Or is it the well-being? You know, do we need to show people that the CO2 levels are good, PM 2.5, which is the COVID medium? Do we need to put all them types of things into a building? Or do we want to create a premium brand? One of the things that we've seen coming up more and more is student accommodation. And student accommodation is a lottery. You know, the way that they let it, it goes out there, but people are now creating things like student accommodation as a brand, and a premium brand. They can charge more, they can make it a seamless exercise, and they can make it easy for them to actually let and release that real estate to the students. So what is a smart building? Well, this is the best question. It's where you integrate disparate systems, and an awful lot of what's been said earlier is all disparate. They don't join together, they don't speak the same language, they don't speak the same protocol. You're putting them in retrospectively, you're trying to align them with the systems and protocols that's already in a building. It's a really awkward and hard challenge when you guys pick this up and you're trying to make things work. You end up with more disparate systems in a building as well. So the Internet of Things, what does that actually mean? You know, well, enabling the building for an Internet of Things is the key driver. If we do that now, it means it's going to be easier for you guys to add your systems on in the end. If we don't and we close the protocols, you're not going to get what you need. So let's map this out. A smart building is a major disruption to the construction model. There's no two ways about it. It's a constant fight and a challenge for us guys to actually get smart buildings. Are they ready? Well, I think if any of you guys deal with the construction industry, you'll know they're nowhere near. They don't want it. They don't want us involved. They don't understand what we do. They didn't understand BMS, so they're certainly not going to understand what a smart building is. How do we get there? We need a 5-star client, so we've got to go to the market in a different way. We've got to go after the investor, we've got to go after the developer, we've got to get them to buy in, and we've got to sit at the top of the food chain so that we can have an influence in everything that's going on through the construction chain, so we can bully the contractors, because he's always done it that way. And the only reason he sits at the top of the tree is because his pot of money is bigger than the rest of them going down the street. So the intelligence sits at the bottom, we all sit at the top, we start to move things around, and this is what we did with King Street. We actually got the client buy-in. The construction team absolutely hated us with a vengeance, but it's been 40 years of my life to have that my time and day enjoying beating them guys up for a change. This is where the resistance comes in. There's nothing we can do about it, we've just got to work with it. But what we are finding is the generations change, and we get the younger people going in, it's making life easier for us. The issue you've also got in the consultant world is these guys specify the same thing they always have. Another generation gap problem that we've got inside of there. I did a lunch and learn session for a large global consulting engineer. We did 14 and then we did the 15th one with all the graduates. The graduates' response to everything that we'd shown them was, we get it, but we work for all them guys out there. So in the consultant world, effectively it's dead man's shoes. They keep doing the same thing because that's what they've always done. And that's where the resistance starts. If we can't break them guys down, we're never going to educate them to actually give you effectively a smart building. So the journey's got to be defined from the outset. This is the challenge. Because we can't get the consultant team to do that, we've got to get involved. We've got to start working with them to create low-level design, enhanced design, and start to integrate all the different platforms that go into a building today. Someone mentioned blue sky earlier on. Well, blue sky integration is something that you've got to think outside the box, but when you're doing it, there's got to be some value. There's no point in integrating things for the sake of it. Don't join them up if you're not going to get some value from it. If you're going to get some value, then great, let's go ahead and do it. The more you join together, the less that you do. So capital comes down. You're actually gaining benefit. It also means you've got less to maintain. So the more integration, you do see the benefits on both the CapEx and the OpEx side. We've got to introduce it to a new timeline, and again, this is where we said you guys need to be involved at the very beginning, and so do we. If we're going to define a smart building, we're going to get the infrastructure right, we've got to have a say at the off. We've not got to be an afterthought. They've let it out to the M&E contractor. He rocks up, all he wants to do is cut costs. We're the first thing to go. And that's what basically happens, and then you guys end up with a building that these guys are not interested in because they're running away and going to build the next building, and you've now got to look after it for 25, 30 years. We've got to change that from a timeline point of view. And we've got to define the infrastructure. So we look at it as a three-staged approach. And that's the 3 stages that we look at. So if we look at what do they put into the building to begin with, well, they're always going to put lighting in. So if we can make the lighting network smart and intelligent, and we can enable loads of other different features within it, we're already off and running. That's exactly what we did at King Street. We controlled the lights via Dalek, because that's what the lights were, but we've now enabled Bluetooth, we've now enabled Enosia, we've now enabled Zigbee. We've got loads of other technologies, some you may have heard of, some you may not, some you'll already use without even knowing about it. Alexa and Amazon uses Zigbee, that's their medium when they're doing the technology side. On the right hand side we've got BMS. I'm a BMS engineer, that's my background where I came from. BMS is dying. BMS, when you put a smart infrastructure in the IoT, doesn't need to come out of the plant room. You no longer need that infrastructure anymore. And plant's becoming smart. So plant doesn't need BMS. It can be told what to do by the likes of a Raspberry Pi, a microcomputer that's 25 quid. So you're now starting to look at how is that market going to shrink, how's it going to change, and what can we do to enable that. When we go on to the stage 2, these are a little bit more stuck in the past. They're all proprietary systems, and some of them manufacturers kicking and screaming. The lift manufacturers, they are a nightmare to work with. They will not release the protocols, they will not give us the information. They've done what they always do, and continue to bully the industry. But the minute we start opening this up, It means the lift manufacturer's not going to sell the software platform at 30,000 quid with an ongoing licence fee, because we can connect directly into the lifts and give you all them features. Then moving on to the area that you guys are in, this is what you've tried to put in at the end when all this has gone before you. You're putting it into an infrastructure that's not ready, not fit for purpose, and it's not going to work. So it starts to become hard work, you become more disparate, it's even harder to look after. So they're all the now soft services that we can put inside of there, and we can drive the integration. I better get a move on because it's 10 minutes and I'm on into 3. So the journey can begin, and then we've got to align the entire team. So what do we need to cover inside of that? Well, we need to define the process. We need to explain to them how it's going to be. That's the enhanced design. We need to educate people. When we're taking all these guys on, we've actually got to get everybody's buy-in. If we don't, then it falls apart. So we go through the entire food chain to make sure that all them guys are on board and working with us. We need to engage the supply chain. All the manufacturers do things their own way. They're all protecting their own market. A typical example is the air conditioning guys. They want to do more and more and more in your space. They want it to be proprietary, closed down, so that you're having to buy more of their equipment, their wall controllers. At King Street, we took out 165 wall controllers. We didn't need any of them because we put wireless sensors in there. We went back to the supplier, who then said, no, they're free. They come with a unit. So when we're adding them in, they're 165 quid. When we're taking them out, they're free. So you've been there. But that's what's happening. So the supply chain, again, we've got to get their buy-in. We've got to get them joining in with us and get them to see the value as well. So define the infrastructure. It's multifunctional. It's multi-layered. I am mindful of time. So the education process, how do we do that? We set up a series of workshops to get everybody's buy-in. We make sure that everybody's aligned and everybody's on board with what we're doing. We call them wizard workshops because you too can become a sorcerer, because our industry from a BMS point of view and even in smart buildings now is seen as black magic, and we don't get away with it anymore. But we need to educate the entire supply chain to get what we want from there. Who should be involved? Everybody again, the entire team. What would these workshops cover? Well, everything. We've got to go through everything that we're installing and everything that's going to be operating at the end as well. We can't just do it in disparate systems. It doesn't matter. From the cleaning of the building all the way through to the IT side of it, everything joins together. That's where we drive all the value from it. And the desired outcomes, we get that unified buy-in. So, engage the supply chain. Well, this is the big challenge without a shadow of a doubt. They're resistive to it because we're starting to take things away from them. When we start to join the ecosystem up, it means that we're taking things out. We don't need a wired sensor from a BMS. We don't need a wall control from an AC system. We don't need a leak detector from a leak detector supplier. We can do all that via wireless technology with simplistic tech inside of there. It's a new way of working. Again, this is a problem, but we're integrating more than ever before. That is the benefit of a smart building. The more we join together, the more value we create. And then we're back to disrupting the construction model. But like I said, it's this generation thing. The babies at the bottom are the ones that expect a building to operate in that way. Their smart device, and again, someone went through it this morning, their smart device is everything. And that's the way that they're going to interact with the building. And we're going to start stripping even more out because the smart device is going to give you everything that you need. Room and desk booking will be done via smart device. You're not going to need a tablet on the wall and the door. So all them types of things are going to change as well. Again, the desired outcome, we get cross-functional connectivity. So the low-level design, how do we do that? It's a very new skill set. We don't really have the people out there, and it's a new breed of engineers. They're coming at us from all walks of life, and it depends on what their mentality is, their foresight is, and to how and where they fit into this skill set as well. So understanding of a smart building needs to operate. I saw the penknife earlier on. But again, it's a multifunctional skill set. It's not normal. It's not everything that you would get from an engineer. They've got to be open about what we're doing. They've got to be open about the technologies that we're going to use. So the high level important, this is now, it's pivotal and it's a critical stage within inside of it. If we've got everybody's buy-in and we're going forward, we can now start moving with the supply chain. And we can amalgamate wired and wireless technologies. And this is where we talk about not needing to come out of the plant room. We can push everything back. It can be the energy, it can be the space temperature, it can be the CO2, it can be the AC. Everything goes back over the same network. and this is where we get onto the different terminologies, and I've not heard many of these this morning. So, open, you'll have heard of open technology because the BMS manufacturers have been talking about it for years. Well, it's a fallacy. No open protocol can speak to another open protocol, so it's not actually open. BACnet doesn't speak to Modbus, doesn't speak to LOM, never has done, but they name them open protocols. I don't know how they got away with it. However, the technologies of today that are classed as open, again, don't speak to each other. Bluetooth, Zigbee, Inocean, LoRaWAN, they're all disparate systems and they've got to be brought together. How do we do that? Well, today's age now means we've got APIs, application program interface, we've got SDKs, software development kits, and we've got MQTT. So we've got all these things now that will allow us to join all them technologies together seamlessly. And there's lots of software platforms now that are allowing us to do that. So enhanced versus traditional, and multiple networks and hardware gateways are now being done away with, so we're basically bringing everything together. The Internet of Things is all about one network. Enable the core, you can plug everything else in there. That gives us a cross-functional integration again through all the disciplines. So, what do we end up with? Well, everything that you want in a building today, we're connecting people, places and things. That's the idea. We're making you interact with the building. How are we doing that? Well, Bluetooth is getting hold of your smart device. We can interact with you on Bluetooth. So your smart device is now connecting. Again, someone was showing the way that we can location-based services track you around the building. With Bluetooth beacons, you can get down to 3 meters, but it's not just people, we can track assets exactly the same way as well. In the healthcare industry, they're looking at tracking beds and wheelchairs to minimise the time that they've got to finding these things. So the places side of it is the location-based services, as I've just pointed out. And the things is the Internet of Things, assets, edge devices, anything that we can add to the infrastructure after the event. So the user journey is now seamless. We can connect with you, we can share the information, we can guide you around the building, we can tell you where the assets are. We can even tell you what's gone wrong with something down to the nth degree. With inside of a light, a dial, it tells us everything that's wrong with it, what part of the light has failed, where it is in the building, and we can guide you via location-based services straight back to that position. So we can actually help the engineering. So everything is de-skilled, it's all done via an application. The idea is if we can de-skill it enough, it can be deployed by anybody. We don't need specialists, we don't need BMS engineers. The electrical contractor can deploy this, buy into it, and it'll make his life simple as well. So data normalization, that's the unique DNA. That's where we make everything speak the same language. So we can take anything and we can normalize it. Over in the States, they've got things like meta tagging through ASTAC and Schema. Google's even got their OAP solution. So they've all got different languages. They can all be normalized. They can be normalized on the software platform in the cloud. That means that we can share the data without the need for physical on-site gateways and hardware. So create standard language for all connected systems, build APIs, create cross-functional benefits, and remove the need for the hardware gateways. I need to put my slides on before I'm talking. So, solutions architect and applications delivery, that's what we're going to end up with. A new breed of engineers. Where do they come from? All over the place, various backgrounds, the different skill set. Well, we need them to be thinking outside the box. We need them to be thinking how they can join things together, create value, understand what that means. And in the world of IT, a lot of that's already been done. We're just moving it now into the building services sector. So building intelligence, connectivity, communications gives us the integration skills and how we can join all that together. And it does drive both CapEx and OpEx. If we can automate servicing your fan coil units, your air conditioning units, and driving all the benefits back to you, you're going to get savings. If we can push all that data via the cloud out to your engineer, then we can give him that information. We don't need people sat in a bureau to actually do that. 2 away. 1 minute 18. Connected. So we've got connected things, people and places. We're doing it via edge devices. Everything these days has a microprocessor sat in it. COVID killed the world of the chip manufacturers because everything stopped. They've now been incrementally pushed up in price. It's really expensive for us to actually get these things, but everything's got it. When you're working with Alexa and all the connected devices, even your light bulb's got microprocessors in these days. So we're embracing all the emerging standards. We locate and manage assets, and we take you on the journey. And there's a reason I'm doing this, because I just want to see if I can get that. So we've got a connected building. So we've integrated people, places and things. I'm not even going to go through that one, but that's basically how the data moves around in a building. So at 12 King Street, what they wanted to do, and I have 23 seconds to get through it, is meet Alice. How does it look when we've deployed this technology? Well, we can basically interact with Alice now via the cloud, and we can allow her to book a room. When she arrives, we can give her a car parking spot, we can tell her where she is. One of the drivers of getting people back to work is going to be the electric vehicles, because the charging at work is going to drive people back. We're seeing that already. Her phone becomes a pass. She doesn't need a card anymore. We can move her around through the building that way. We can call the lift. We can automatically notify the host that she's arrived. We can give her the reminder of the meeting room that she's booked in. We can locate her. We can guide her to where she needs to go. We can notify the host she's arrived. We can go get a coffee. And if Alice is the person that's booked the room, she gets control of that room without any other third-party devices. It comes straight off of her smart application. What can we do? Connect people, places and things. And I've still got 30 seconds. That's me over with 30 seconds. Thank you very much for listening.